The premise of the movie is set in the year 2029. Captain Leo Davidson is an astronaut aboard the United States Air Force space station, Oberon. He and his team are with apes, who are specially trained for space missions. At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to one of such chimpanzees, named Pericles. He works closely with the captain, and is very good at his job. Leo receives a video message from his friends on Earth, but while watching it, the lights go out, and the electronic devices start to malfunction. The flickering of the lights causes the animals aboard to panic. Leo is asked to report to the bridge to discuss the malfunction. He is then informed about an electromagnetic storm approaching the space station. The standard procedure is to send an ape to take initial radiation and gamma ray readings, and make sure the storm is safe for a human astronaut to approach. Leo's superior asks him to get Pericles ready for the trip. Leo retaliates and claims that it is his job as a captain to report the initial readings, but everyone else asks him to follow the standard procedure. Why this literal astronaut captain is willing to throw his life away for a monkey is anyone's best guess. He then prepares Pericles for the mission. The creature is seated in a small pod that he pilots to the storm. Only some minutes after the takeoff, the scientists notice that the pod is off course, and Pericles' heart rate is rising. Eventually, they lose track of the pod, and declare that it is lost. Leo sneaks into a pod and launches into space to get the chimp, even though his superiors ask him to return. He gets a visual of the pod that Pericles is in, but before he can report it, his pod crashes into a massive foreign object. After the impact, he loses all signal from the space station. He crashes yet again, this time into a bright wormhole. The pod malfunctions and crashes into a planet's surface that looks a lot like the Earth. Leo lands on a water body and somehow survives the crash. He walks around, exploring the forest he is in. The first person he meets is a man who seems to be a native of the jungle. The man and a group behind him are running away from wild apes, who are chasing them. Without thinking much about it, Leo also begins to run with them. The apes wear armor for protection, and seem to be more advanced than humans. They abduct most of the group, as the surviving ones try to run away. All of them, including Leo, are eventually enslaved and taken away in a human-run carriage. They reach a civilization of humanoid apes, where humans are used for household work and entertainment, and the apes run the society. The ape children throw stones at the captured humans, calling them dirty. We are introduced to a female ape, Eri, who supports human rights and protests the way they are treated in society. She scolds the kids and tells them to respect all beings. Damn, these monkeys are PC. The slaves are then sold to a dealer. After they are put into the cages, a little ape child buys a human girl to keep her as a pet. The adults are dragged out and marked with a hot iron stick. Eri intervenes and asks the dealer to be less ruthless to humans because they also have rights. Leo takes this opportunity to grab the iron rod and hold her hostage. He whispers to her to help him escape this place. A human girl named Dinah also tries to run away, but is caught by the dealer. He claims that he will have to put down both Leo and Dinah. To save their lives, Eri asks the dealer to sell them to her. The dealer is reluctant at first, but agrees anyway. Eri's father is a well-respected senator who doesn't like that Eri has brought two wild humans into his house. He asks her to keep them in check because he will soon have guests over. One of the guests is General Thade, a sadistic chimpanzee military commander who wants full control over the ape civilization. When Leo and Dinah are alone in the kitchen, he asks her how the monkeys managed to get more powerful than humans. Dinah claims that they have always been that way. Leo is then taken outside to serve the guests. As the guests engage in conversation, Leo overhears Thade saying that humans outnumber apes by a large number. Eri puts forward her ideas of equality between humans and apes, but Thade claims that her principles threaten the apes' prosperity. When Leo comes to serve the table, Thade forcefully opens his mouth and mocks him. Eri leaves the table at the sight, and Thade follows her. It turns out that he has been asking her to marry him for quite some time, but because of his cold soul, she refuses. You would think that he would want her dead because of their polar opposite viewpoints, but drama, I guess. After dinner, Leo and Dinah are locked inside a cage with the house slaves. At night, Leo manages to open the cage and run away with Dinah and the other humans. Dinah insists that she won't run away without her family, who is still locked up in the dealership. They run to the said dealership and free her father and the other human slaves. Following that, the group makes their way to the forest. Soon, the soldiers are ordered to look for the escaped prisoners. The murderous General Thade and his junior, Colonel Attar, march ape warriors to pursue the humans. While trying to run away, the group bumps into Eri, who agrees to help them at Leo's request. However, before they can escape through a tunnel, Colonel Attar approaches them. Dinah's father, who is already very injured, runs to fight the ape and distract him. He sacrifices his life in the fight, but because of him, the others run away safely. Leo takes them to the lake that he had landed in. We find out that the apes are terrified of water because they cannot swim. Leo and Dinah swim into the lake and retrieve a bag from the crashed pod. It contains a gun and a beacon that Leo uses to send a signal to the space station. He receives data that says that the space station is already in the atmosphere, most probably looking for him. Just then, the dealer, Limbo, attacks them and tries to abduct one of the humans. Leo threatens him with the gun and holds him hostage because if they let him go, he will lead the others to the group. After that, they continue to follow the signal received by the beacon to help Leo go back home. Meanwhile, back in the town, Thade asks the senator for absolute power to eradicate the humans. He wants to take the opportunity to expand his power and eventually rule the world of apes. The senator believes that his daughter was abducted by the humans, so he does as Thade says and provides him with full authority. Thade's father gets severely sick, so he is called to meet him. In his place, General Krull goes to stop the humans. Thade's father is the only man he trusts and respects. The old ape knows something that the younger generation doesn't. Thade asks his father about the source of his knowledge. The father ape then tells him about the first of their kind, named the Semos. Before the arrival of Semos, the apes were the slaves to humans, who ruled society. Thade believes it to be impossible, but his father continues the explanation. He reveals a hidden old gun, and says that humans possess the power of invention and technology, which is greater than their strength. The old ape begs his son to not let the humans get to a place called the Kalima. It is the holy temple of Semos that holds the secret of their true origin. If the humans find out about it, they will retaliate and destroy the apes' world. In the meantime, the group of escapees makes their way to the Kalima, where Leo believes his team is waiting for him. As they get closer, they see scarecrows made to keep the apes and the humans away from the holy temple. They finally get to a checkpoint where camps of apes have been settled to guard the way to the temple. General Krull also arrives there and takes command of the troops. When the sun sets, Leo creates a distraction using his gun and makes his way to the camp on horseback. He and the group manage to set the camp on fire and cross the river, which is the only obstacle between them and the Temple of Semos. A while later, Thade arrives at the camp and is furious at the troops for not being able to stop the humans. He gathers them all and sets off to look for the enemies from the other side of the mountain. The escapees, on the other hand, rest for the night and reach the Semos' temple the next day. Leo is beyond surprised when he sees that the temple is actually the space station, Oberon, that he left a few days ago. Eri claims that it is impossible because the temple has been there for thousands of years. Since the station is powered by nuclear energy, Leo is able to retrieve visual logs to see what actually happened to his ship. Then, he finds out that when he entered the wormhole, he jumped through time and reached the year 5021. The Oberon remained in the year 2029 and looked for him. They were never able to find him, and the station eventually crashed to this planet's surface in 2029. The apes that were aboard the Oberon went wild and started to attack the crew members, but eventually one of the apes, named Semos, stopped them and led the way. As time passed, the apes took over, and the people Leo is with currently are the descendants of his own fellow crew members. Now, he has no way to return home. When he steps out of the ruins of the Oberon, several humans surround him. They have heard the story about the brave human and want to help him fight the apes, but Leo knows that they will not be able to win against thousands of apes who are coming for them. He asks them to run away, but they stay put in their decision. Then, he thinks of an idea. Since the Oberon has plenty of nuclear fuel, he plans to use it to fire a final blast at the apes when they arrive. He makes all the humans hide behind the spaceship and uses the escapees as bait to invite the apes. When the first batch of apes is close enough, the nuclear blast sends them flying. However, soon after, Thade and the second batch of the army attack them. They begin to overpower the humans with their strength. Leo and Thade get into a fierce battle, but stop when they notice a familiar ship landing from the sky. It contains Pericles, who had also been lost in the wormhole. It turns out the electromagnetic storm actually releases people from it in an opposite direction in time with their entrance, which explains why Pericles arrived a few days after Leo. Convenient science is convenient. The apes then bow, interpreting his arrival as the return of Simos, and hostilities between humans and apes suddenly cease. Ignoring everyone, Pericles runs into the remains of the Oberon, and Leo runs after him, followed by General Thade. Thade wants to end Pericles to attain absolute power, but Leo stops him. The two get into a fight. Leo's gun lands inside the pilot's deck during the struggle. Thade goes inside to retrieve it, but is trapped when Leo locks the automatic door. The enraged ape fires the gun repeatedly at the door, but the ricochets create sparks that scare him. He hides under a control panel, accepting his defeat. Deciding to return to Earth, Leo gives Pericles to Aerie, who promises to look after him. He tells everyone that humans and apes are supposed to live in peace and harmony. It was Simos' wish all along. After saying farewell to Aerie and Dinah, Leo climbs aboard Pericles' undamaged pod and travels back in time through the same electromagnetic storm and crashes in Washington, D.C. on Earth. He looks up at what appears to be the Lincoln Memorial, only to find that it is now a monument memorializing General Thade. A swarm of police officers, firefighters, and news reporters, all of whom are apes, descend upon him. Now for the explanation of the ending. We can assume that Leo has entered into the future because of the electromagnetic storm. It is likely that after Leo's departure from the previous planet, Thade somehow managed to break free and traveled to Earth through the same electromagnetic storm. He was then released to Earth thousands of years before Leo's arrival. Because the ape was kicked off of his planet, he managed to rule the Earth and overthrow the humans. And now everyone on Earth is an ape. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you.